Good morning. Today we'll be talking about Krakatoa, the Day the World Exploded, by Simon Winchester. My name is Brennan Hinson. This event took place on August 27th, 1883, at about 10:02 a.m. local time. After months of increasing activity, 4 colossal explosions ripped through Krakatoa. The final blast was the loudest sound in recorded human history and could be heard in Australia, Sri Lanka, and even parts of the Indian Ocean over 3,000 miles away. The northern two-thirds of the island collapsed into the sea, forming a massive caldera and triggering devastating tsunamis. There were over 36,000 lives lost, and the vast majority died from a series of massive tsunamis. These waves reached over 120 feet in height, completely destroying 165 coastal villages along the Sunda Strait. Some survivors described ships being carried miles inland, entire towns vanishing in minutes, and days of total darkness from ash. Telegraph reports paint a picture of unimaginable chaos and loss. And this was not just a local catastrophe, it was the first truly global natural disaster. About 23 cubic kilometers of material was ejected, with fine ash and sulfur aerosols circling the globe. Incoming sunlight was reduced and global temperature dropped, and that lasted for several years. Sea levels fell and did not recover until the mid-20th century. There were vivid red and orange sunsets worldwide for years after. The moon also appeared blue or green at times, and these effects are also believed to have influenced artists. The sterilized islands ended up becoming a natural laboratory for ecological succession and island biogeography. Krakatoa also helped to launch modern volcanology and biogeography as more rigorous sciences. News of this disaster also spread worldwide within hours via the newly completed telegraph network. This was one of the first times a major catastrophe was experienced almost in real time from people far from the event. From Winchester's perspective, his thesis was that this eruption was a pivotal moment because it coincided with the Victorian era's technological and imperial expansion. The telegraph made this disaster global instantly, colonial structures shaped who lived and who died, and scientific curiosity turned devastation into knowledge. Winchester emphasizes the human drama and terror, the intersection of geology with globalization, the birth of modern scientific understanding of volcanoes and ecology, and the eerie, almost prophetic quality of Krakatoa rising from the ashes decades later. It's my understanding that Winchester wants us to feel both that awe at nature's power and humility at our vulnerability, which resonates deeply with emergency management. Some strengths of the book were the masterful storytelling. He writes extremely well. You feel the ground shake, see the ash fall like snow, and hear the silence after the roar, making this event more memorable and emotionally resonant. He's also extremely good at weaving a large variety of subjects together without losing coherence or accessibility. He also centers survivor accounts and the social context, reminding us that these are human experiences, which is a core principle of modern emergency management. The book also successfully argues that this was not an isolated curiosity, but a turning point that helped create our modern understanding of planetary risks. Some critique and areas for improvement. He sometimes spends dozens of pages on background, like the full history of the telegraph, and while interesting, these can feel like detours that dilute the urgency around the disaster itself. The book also implies lessons about vulnerability, communication, and scientific preparedness, but doesn't really systematically analyze what changed in government warning systems or land use policy. Winchester also touches on colonial structures, but a deeper engagement with how this shaped the exposure and response would help strengthen the analysis. And overall, I believe this was an outstanding history and science writing, a little slightly less strong as a standalone policy. Some lessons for emergency management and policy. Number 1, integrated multi-hazard planning is non-negotiable. The deadliest impact here was the tsunamis that were triggered. Scientific monitoring can also save lives. These expeditions afterwards laid groundwork for modern volcanology, and we now have many ways to provide critical lead time for any possible events like this that could occur in the future. Communication and warning, also a huge deal. The telegraph was completely transformative. We now have obviously many more modernized tools, but access is uneven. Also, social vulnerability amplifies this impact. The settlement patterns and governance priorities meant the local communities suffered disproportionately. Krakatoa should shape planning and policy today by prioritizing compound and cascading hazard scenarios, strengthening real-time monitoring and rapid communication, centering community knowledge, using powerful narratives for public education, and investing in long-term resilience instead of just response. And these are my references used. Thank you.